Being alone is something no one really teaches you how to do. People talk about relationships, friendships, how to work with others, but not how to sit with yourself. How to exist in silence without feeling like you need to fill it. How to breathe through the stillness without reaching for someone else's presence to steady you. At first, it's hard. Harder than you expect. When you're alone, you hear things you'd rather not. The doubts, the regrets, the memories you've been pushing down, they surface when there's no one else around to distract you. It's tempting to run from that, to fill the space with noise and movement. Scroll through your phone, turn on the TV, call someone, anything to avoid sitting with yourself. We've built our whole lives around avoiding this feeling. We've made distraction a habit, or reflex. There's always something to do, something to check, something to scroll through. Silence feels unnatural because we've taught ourselves that being busy means being valuable. That filling our time means filling our lives. So when you take all of that away, the background noise, the constant input, the steady hum of activity, you feel exposed. Like something's missing. Like you're not enough by yourself. But there's something important that happens when you resist that impulse. When you stop running from the quiet. You start to hear your own thoughts, clearly, maybe for the first time in a long while. And at first, they might not be kind. They might tell you that you failed, that you're not enough, that you should have done things differently. Every regret, every mistake, every missed opportunity, it all comes rushing back. You'll find yourself replaying conversations you wish had gone differently. Wondering why you let some people go and why you held on to others for too long. You'll want to distract yourself from that, reach for your phone, call someone, fill the gap with noise, but if you sit with it, if you let those thoughts come and go without chasing them down, you'll notice something shift. The thoughts lose their power. They become quieter. Softer. The regrets, the doubts, they start to feel more like memories than wounds. You begin to understand that not every thought deserves your attention. Not every feeling is a fact. You start to separate the truth from the noise. And then you start to notice the other things. The quieter things. The things you've been too busy to see or hear. The sound of your own breath, the rise and fall of your chest. The light moving across the room as the day passes. The weight of your body against the chair. The hum of the world outside your window. The feel of your heartbeat in your chest. You realize that this stillness isn't emptiness. It's space. Space for you to exist without having to prove anything. Space to breathe without needing permission. Space to feel whatever you feel without needing to explain it or justify it or soften it for someone else's comfort. Being alone teaches you who you are when no one else is watching. What you like when no one is influencing you. What you believe when there's no one else's voice in the room. It teaches you how to trust yourself, how to sit with your own mind and not run from it. How to know the difference between real longing and habit. Between missing someone and just missing the idea of them. You stop confusing love with distraction. And over time, you start to feel comfortable with yourself. You realize that your own company is enough. That you don't need to reach for someone else's hand to steady yourself. That you don't need someone else's gaze to feel seen or someone else's words to feel understood. You can sit with yourself, in silence, and feel whole. It's not that you stop wanting connection. It's that connection stops feeling like a requirement for peace. You stop needing someone else's presence to feel balanced. You stop measuring your worth by how many people want your attention. Being alone stops feeling like a failure, like a gap that needs to be filled. It starts to feel like a gift. You begin to understand that solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is the absence of connection, but solitude is the presence of yourself. It's the ability to sit with your own thoughts and not need to escape them. To find peace not because someone else is there to give it to you, but because you've learned how to give it to yourself. And there's strength in that. There's strength in knowing that you can face yourself without flinching. That you can hear your own thoughts without running from them. That you can sit in silence and not feel the urge to fill it. You start to enjoy it, the quiet, the space, the stillness. The freedom of not having to explain yourself, of not having to adjust to someone else's mood or expectations. You can move through your day at your own pace. Sleep when you want. Eat what you want. Stretch across the whole bed without worrying about taking up too much space. And the more you practice being alone, the less lonely you feel. Because you've learned that your own company is enough. You've learned that peace doesn't come from someone else's presence, it comes from within. From knowing yourself. From accepting yourself. From realizing that you are whole, even in the quiet. That's when the fear of being alone disappears. Because you understand that you are not empty. You are not lacking. You are not broken. You are enough, exactly as you are, even when no one else is there to see it. That's the gift of being alone. Not loneliness, but presence. Not emptiness, but fullness. And when you realize that, when you feel that, you stop being afraid of the quiet. You stop needing someone else to fill the space. Because the space isn't empty anymore. It's full of you. And that's enough.